These are communities with a lot of first responders who are also responding to this all throughout the Southland, and they're dealing with their own personal issues at home as well. So many families impacted by this, obviously, because of the widespread nature of what we're dealing with the weather system, as Samada has been telling us, but with all of the flare-ups and the fires that we're experiencing all throughout the Southland.
Yeah, just another example of how much you need to be prepared to go at any time. You need to be prepared for anything, because, you know, you hear one thing, you hear an alert, hey, this is going to happen. And again, it doesn't always come to the top of everyone's mind, especially if you haven't lived through something like this. How many different ways you can be affected by this? How many ways you can be affected by a community, you know, that's not yours.
Yep, and we want to remind people the 6 Ps, of course, in packing up, being prepared to go: people, pets, personal belongings, personal laptops, photos, pictures, and plastic, which means, you know, your credit cards, obviously, your debit cards, any cash with you, as well as prescriptions. So don't forget those 6 Ps as you maybe think about packing up, being ready to go, if in case you get that alert that you must leave. If you do get one of those alerts, leave now.
And right now we want to go to this. Our Gigi Graciette, she is covering the Palisades fire. She's been covering it since yesterday morning. She actually talked to a man who lost his home in this fire.
The Palisades is not just the wealthy. It's the people, the everyday people like this. My neighbor fixed surfboards. That's what he did. He was a surfboard fixer. He was, you know, and they live day to day, paycheck.
They live modestly, and there are a lot of senior citizens that call this mobile home park home.
Correct. Yes, senior citizens, just a lot of good people, just good American people, just what do they call the salt of the earth? I just love them.
Palisades, people who live there, they're taking this burned, you know, char. They're dealing with this. They are still standing. Look at this American flag. As they're taking this as a sign of hope. You know, obviously there are, yes, many people in the Palisades who also have a lot of money, but these are still human beings. These are families. There are children. The impact of losing your home and like this, it just can't be overstated. Everybody matters.
And as he was mentioning, yeah, it doesn't matter how much your home is worth. It is a home to somebody. And he was saying that the misconception is that only the wealthy live in this area. But for him and the community there, it is a place where they call home, and living paycheck to paycheck. Clearly, this is going to be a really hard hit in terms of what it does to their livelihoods and their lives. We're taking a live look right now, though, at 1:33. This is the Palisades fire, continues to burn. Thankfully, we do have a little reprieve from the winds right now, but clearly things can change at a moment's notice.
And just you saying that it's, you know, 1:33, it is now Thursday morning, 1:33. We've been watching this community burn since 11 a.m. Tuesday.
That's right. 10:30 it broke out on Tuesday morning. So what an incredible couple of days for so many of us as we've been watching this, and the turn of events, you know, hour by hour definitely changes as we give you updates on the acreages that have been burning, and also the multiple fires now that we're dealing with throughout the area. But speaking of the Palisades fires, we take a live look right now in the Palisades. A particular devastating are the celebrity homes we've been talking about. A lot of celebrities living in the community there. Page 6 reporting Paris Hilton, Heidi Montag, Spencer Pratt, Leighton Meester, Adam Brody, Anna Faris, Miles Teller, Eugene Levy, Anthony Hopkins, Billy Crystal, Tom Hanks, and Rita Wilson, John Goodman. They are among the celebrities, the Hollywood stars, who have lost their homes. And many of them shared emotional messages on social media, expressing heartbreak over the loss of cherished memories, just like anyone else who have lost everything. Others, like Ben Affleck, Mandy Moore, Mark Hamill, they were forced to evacuate as well. Celebrities like Ricki Lake and Sandra Lee described their homes as heaven on earth and perfection, now all reduced to ashes. And if you've been following Jamie Lee Curtis on her social media, she's been posting a lot of the devastation she's seeing. She's speaking out about these devastating wildfires in the Pacific Palisades. And she shared this video on social media that her family is safe, she says, but many of her friends may lose their homes. And Curtis described the situation as terrifying and expressed gratitude to first responders and firefighters and neighbors helping one another. She urged everyone to stay safe and support one another and let first responders do their work, because this is a situation where obviously when people were evacuating, we saw all those cars backed up. It was really tough to get out of the community. And she's saying that people need to pray, regardless of their beliefs, for those who are impacted. Jamie also sharing this, that a church in the Palisades where she got sober 25 years ago is now gone. She's describing it as a place of comfort, hosting baptisms, weddings, funerals, and helping countless people reclaim their lives through sobriety. She also mentioned the women's club in the area where she connected with others on their sober journeys. It's no longer there. And really, she was just touring the Palisades and posting all of these pictures on her social media. It's really heartbreaking to see all the devastation. And despite all these losses, though, Curtis expressed hope, saying, "We will persevere."
Yeah, look at this. A really important, well-loved Malibu landmark is gone. And this is Moonshadow's iconic oceanfront restaurant. It's been open since 1966. We've been told it's been destroyed in the Palisades fire. And Sandra, that's not all, obviously.
Yeah, you know, it's known for its dining room that's perched over the water right there, as you're seeing. Some of the pictures that people have enjoyed staying here, dining here, enjoying the view. The restaurant had been a favorite for decades. And while representatives of Moonshadow couldn't be reached, these videos are going viral to heartfelt tributes from fans mourning the loss.
All these homes along this stretch just south of Dukes are gone. Firefighters continue to work here on PCH. Iconic restaurant Moonshadow is gone. The Rosenthal Winery burned down. Topanga Motel has been burned down.
That was Jeremy Lee Quinn who posted this video that is, gone viral. Employees, people who have long gone, they are sharing memories of the iconic spot. They called it a second home, a place for celebrations. One person actually said they visited weekly for years. Another talked about, recently ringing in the new year there. Many people are just kind of struggling to believe that, the loss of this cherished gathering place. Moonshadows was more of a restaurant. It was a part of Malibu's identity, just obviously driving past it. Many people have, even if you've never gone, you've seen this building.
That's right. It's always a landmark along PCH saying, okay, it's north of Moonshadow, south of Moonshadows. Kind of gave directions based on that. And you definitely knew the area and knew that iconic landmark.
We want to go back to that live picture of the Palisades fire. Again, we've been talking about the fact that this has been burning for almost 2 full days.
And to give you a perspective of how much has burned, the Palisades fire right now is 17,234 acres in size. And giving, again, perspective to all this, the size of Manhattan in New York City is 14,604 acres. So the size of this Palisades fire is bigger than the size of Manhattan, New York. That's the enormity we're talking about. That's the size and scope we're talking about. And again, as we came on the air on Tuesday at 10:30, when it broke out as just a vegetation fire along the hillsides there in the Palisades, of 20 acres burned, and it has exploded into this devastation and this tragedy. So clearly, you get the sense of size here that we're talking about.
For sure. Bob DeCastro, he was at the Eden fire yesterday, where firefighters in one neighborhood, they actually didn't have any water, and then an airdrop came in to help.
And the fire chief here was very honest with me. He looked at me. He knew who I was. He said, "Oh, you're with the news." He says, "We have no water. We have no water." And I said, "What is that normal?" And he said, I've never seen anything like it before. He said he'd never seen anything like it. So I don't know what the problem is with the infrastructure or what had happened with the water here. If it's the same situation as the Palisades when they had run out of water because they depleted the resources or all the tanks had already been drained and they have to replenish those tanks and it hasn't happened yet. I'm not an expert on the water delivery system here, but all I know is this is a home that's on fire and the fire chief that is here on the scene from another city here in California is telling us he has never seen anything like this, and there is nothing they can do. They're just doing the best they can to try and protect these surrounding homes. The winds, I will tell you right now, they've let up quite a bit. So that is the good news, but it's just surprising. Now seeing finally some help from the skies here. We've got a water drop. Maybe that's going to take place here very shortly. Come move to the side here, Carlos. You can see him over here. He's coming on this side. There he comes. This is from a water drop coming from LA County, right on top of this fire. You're going to watch it here live. There he is, right on top. How is that? Just as I said that it was better here, that the winds weren't had subsided a bit, that maybe it's time that they brought out some of the air assets, and that looks like what had happened here just moments ago. We just saw that airdrop, the first airdrop that I have seen here since we've been out here for a couple of hours.
You know, just talking about those airdrops, you even heard the excitement in Bob's voice. You know, you may not be dealing with this personally. You may not be impacted. Your home may not be impacted personally. But I think that like everybody is pulling for everybody. I saw people talking about, you know, watching these airdrops happen live and cheering them on like they're watching a basketball game, just because everyone wants this to be over.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, I was on live and watching that happen with Bob, and the airdrop was successful, on target, hit that house, but then it's not enough.
Right.
And they were tapped out of water with the ground crew right there. They had neighbors in the house next to them pulling buckets of water from a swimming pool to try to douse those flames. So clearly a lot of frustrated emotions out there, high emotions as well, and definitely a scary situation when you know that the first responders are dealing with a limited resource like water that they definitely need for this. So during our extensive coverage, though, we want to show you Haley Winslow talking to a man who was begging for the community to help put out the flames of his home. Take a listen to this.
I was told that my house burned down. I drove up. I needed to see it. I wanted to get some clothes for my son. The entire neighborhood is burnt down, but somehow my house does not even have a scratch. There's no fire damage. I went in, but the house next to mine is still on fire. So I'm going around begging anybody to come put out that fire to protect my home.
Because there's no water.
There's no water pressure. I tried to turn on the water myself. I would have tried to put it out, but I have no water pressure, so I have no way of putting it out.
So you and your wife are just trying to go get bottled water?
Yeah, so my wife went to get bottled water. I'm going to meet her down the hill, and we're just going to try and throw bottled water on it, but I don't know if that's going to work.
You need a lot more than that. And so the firefighters said that you're basically not on the list right now?
They said they had a list of places to go. They're spread thin. I understand. I really understand.
Yeah, I know, but so you're just begging somebody, if anybody's got water and can help. You're about a mile down the road from here. Tell us your address.
I'm at 615 East Los Flores Drive, Pasadena, California, 91001. I'm begging anyone to help put out this fire.
So he's got fire basically all around his house, and somehow there's no damage to his house yet, but it's only a matter of time, and there's literally no water to be able to fight it himself.
Correct.
Is there anything else you want to say?
Help. Please help.
That's the desperation you're hearing from so many residents who are facing this tragedy. The fact that there is no water, these hydrants are tapped out. Obviously, this is a bigger discussion and debate and problem that needs to be solved. But right when we're in the thick of this and in an emergency situation, the fact that fire responders and first responders, fire crews out there are trying to tap into these hydrants and then a trickle comes out, not enough water to douse these flames. It's so frustrating for these homeowners, for these neighbors, these community members to face this situation, knowing that help is there, help may be on the way, but there are no resources for firefighters to be able to tackle these blazes. And we're hearing this time and time again, and the desperation, the frustration, the emotions running high, and people losing their homes and everything they have inside. It is just so heartbreaking to hear. And this message, of course, was received by hundreds of people who watched this. A lot of people around the world world sending this man and this area water and supplies. Listen to this.
And thanks to you guys in the public, all over the country. This guy was out of water, of course. He and his wife going to the store to get bottled water to throw on their house. He lost his uncle's house, his mother's house. There was fire literally all around his house, and he was desperate for somebody to come help him. The community stepped up. And he right now has a home still tonight because of you. So here's what he had to say earlier.
I hope I can get some help. To know that my house is standing and then I might lose it because I just couldn't get help, that will even be more painful than it being gone last night.
So again, I mean, I know that, LAFD was asking only firefighters yesterday that are, with the force, but maybe off duty to help. But maybe if there's somebody out there who's got firefighter experience and they're trying to see what they can do, anything you can do to help guys like Chris Anderson who are just begging. They're out of water and there's nothing else that they can do. I know he could really use the help.
And speaking of resources and manpower,
people did step up and help literally all over the country. People were dropping off, giving them tips and then coming to his house and dropping off cases of water. And with everybody's help, they were able to save his house. Of course, there's still fire all around it, so he's hoping that it stays that way. Poor guy, I mean, he was literally crying, just desperate. So thank you to everybody out there who stepped up and helped him.
the desperation of trying to put out a house fire with bottles of water. That's like throwing teaspoons of water on a raging fire. But somehow, as Haley mentioned, that his house is standing and is okay and it was unaffected by the fire. But speaking of resources and all hands on deck with the call out from LA Fire to have any active duty firefighter or volunteer to come in, step up and help out in all this, the Clark County Fire Department and the Las Vegas Fire Department, they sent a 24-member strike team of 5 engines here to California. Just one example of the many surrounding areas bringing in the resources, volunteering to help our situation.
You know, we were just talking about water and the water being gone, and you heard that man say, you know, I tried to turn the water on. There's nothing there. What often looks like there's just no water. Firefighters are not able to refill the water supply. Also, an engineering professor at Purdue noted that in, you know, large cities like the one that we're in, oftentimes massive wildfires like this can damage pipes. Pipes that are already slightly damaged, pipes that are perfectly fine. You have fire raging all around you. And so a damaged pipe, something that you can't even see, can also help deplete a water supply, can also help, stop the process of, water being able to be of use for firefighters. So sometimes it's not even just exactly what you're seeing. There are multiple things happening when a wildfire damages an entire system. Like this. There are things happening that, we can't even see. And what looks like, negligence may actually be a wildfire doing what a wildfire does. And this is horrifying because regardless of what has happened, you end up with someone desperate doing anything they can just because he doesn't want to sit there and watch his house burn. So he's using water bottles because that's all he can do other than watch.
It's the sheer desperation, right? People taking matters into their own hands. And obviously, it is dangerous for people to do that, to try to protect their own property on their own. It's a scary situation. But, it's going to be months in the making in terms of figuring out what went wrong, the response to all of this. Certainly not the time and place to really
started
deal with this. Right now, because of the fact that we're in the thick of it and they're still responding to try to put out all these fires.
Let's bring some Con here in the conversation because obviously, when it comes to specifically what started this, that's under investigation still, and we may never know that. But what we do know is our conditions outside are definitely fueling this.
Absolutely. There is, though, some good news, at least at this hour. If you just walk outside, you'll notice dramatic differences in wind conditions. Yesterday, just a matter of just 24 hours ago, we were witnessing catastrophic, strong rivers of wind going offshore, fanning the flames and creating these massive fires. The fires, of course, still very active across the Palisades especially, and eyes on Eaton Fire and the Hearst Fire. fire. But the great news at this hour is that winds have backed down. And this is what gives the opportunity for firefighters and our aerial apparatus to continue to take advantage of this moment and really get a better handle on the situation. So instead of the ferocious flames and embers casting miles downwind, creating more spot fires, it's going to be a little bit better, at least this hour. So we have several hours of the slightly relaxed conditions before stronger winds make another return. But the stronger winds that are coming our direction is a lot less in strength if you compare it to yesterday's events. Yesterday, we were talking about wind gusts of 60, 70, 80 mile per hour conditions, and that is ferocious. Right now, calm, but eventually, instead of moving up to 80 miles an hour, those hurricane force conditions, we could be looking at gusts, again, still in the danger zone, about 60 miles per hour. A high wind watch will be reissued later, sometime late tonight into Friday morning. So just keep that in mind, especially if you live in the areas of the Santa Clarita Valley. And yes, this does apply to some of our local corridors, the 14, the 5 through the Grapevine, and wind advisories currently in place. We are anticipating those winds to come back later midday, and we're looking at wind speeds range of 20 to perhaps 35 miles an hour, and that's sustained coming out of the northeast because we're still dealing with Santa Ana conditions. But again, not expected to be chaotic as what we have been witnessing. High wind watch will also be in place, unfortunately, for the Santa Monica Mountains, and that does unfortunately may impact the Palisades firefight. But for right now, I'm sure much of our first responders and the firefighters that have been working around the clock tirelessly to get a good handle of the current wind situation. Again, very relaxed at this hour. We unfortunately are still dealing with red flag conditions, red flag warnings that were supposed to expire yesterday evening. Unfortunately, has now been extended into Friday. So we have another day of these conditions where if a new spark were to occur, and yes, we're watching those embers that could create new fires, that is still possible because we're still dealing with very dry conditions. Relative humidity 8 to 12%, and that's bone dry. So if a new fire were to occur, it could also become could rapidly spread. And we're also dealing with those winds that are expected to make a return, and the two combined, of course, leading to these conditions. And it's widespread. We're talking about, back to Ventura County, much of LA County, the San Gabriel Valley, the Inland Empire communities out towards Orange County. So just about anywhere across Southern California, a fire could be likely. We are looking at some improvement for our coastal areas of LA County and pushing out to Orange County out of the red flag zone just due to the slightly higher humidity levels. We have been very dry. Speaking of bone dry conditions, since the beginning of the water year, just trace amounts of rain for October, 14 1/100ths of inch of rain for November, December, and into January. Barely there in terms of rainfall accumulation. And unfortunately, that continues to add to these hazardous conditions that has unfortunately led to what we have been seeing across Southern California with the dry vegetation. So any new fire that has been sparked, there's a couple of elements in place. We have the winds that could drive the fire. We have a lot of the dry chaparral that adds fuel for that fire to continue to grow. And we also have topography. We've been seeing some of these major fires occur in those hilly locations or mountain areas. And as we have chatted and addressed many times over, that fires can create its own weather system, especially when we're dealing with a lot of intense heat that continues to rise. A lot of that cooler air rises, filling in that gap, and that creates chaotic winds. And we've also seen the potential for fire tornadoes in some of those spots, and that creates embers, and those winds that are created by the chaotic conditions spread the embers in various unpredictable conditions. So that's the type of conditions that our firefighters are working with. The winds, the dry fuels, and the topography, all very difficult conditions when we're dealing with red flag weather. Current winds, taking a look right now, we've got calm. This is a sight for sore eyes. We've got numbers, a range of 3 to 7 miles an hour. Much of the basin also on the calm side, light winds across Long Beach at this hour. And you'll notice that we're still dealing with the offshore flow out towards the Inland Empire communities. And that what is unfortunately continuing to keep us on the dry side. No rain in the forecast, at least not this week. We're keeping our fingers crossed because we do need that added moisture. But there is a glimpse of improvement, should I say. Instead of the offshore winds that dries us out, we're going to get more of an onshore push, and I'll show you that momentarily. And that's what's going to help increase our humidity levels. We're not going to be as dry, so our fire weather will slowly start to improve. Here's a look at the futurecast. So these highlighted areas, just very light winds. Yesterday, if you recall, much of our map was highlighted in those contours, that indication where the strongest winds are blowing. And right now, it's really at the top of our mountain areas like the Santa Ana Mountains, pretty quiet through the Cajon Pass. And we make our approach even into the midday hour, much of the basin quiet as well. But you'll notice that the glow of the contours are back. The wind speeds, as I pointed out earlier, the range sustained 20 to 35 miles an hour will make a return. A wind advisory, as I mentioned, will stay in place through about Friday. For the wind-prone areas where winds descend and due to compressional heating, it not just dries us up, but keeps our temperatures more on the mild side. Going into tonight, those very same spots, hot spots for wind conditions, and those are the areas, unfortunately, where the fires are currently burning. Friday morning, we'll back off just slightly for some locations, but it's highly variable. There will be some spots that could see winds tick up a little bit, and there will be also areas where winds will stay more consistently on the lighter side. We may be seeing major improvements by Friday night, and it's all based on the upper levels of the atmosphere. Yesterday, we had that area of low pressure. The backside of that low offered upper level support, and the dynamics in place is what drove those chaotic winds. Now we're seeing big improvements even up there in the upper levels of the atmosphere. We'll take advantage right now of the calm winds. Sandra, Brooke.
All right, so I want to thank you. LA County Sheriff Robert Luna announced deputies arrested 2 people yesterday for allegedly looting homes of victims of the Eden fire. He had this message for anyone looking to prey on fire victims.
So if you are thinking about coming into any of these areas to steal from our residents, I'm going to tell you something. You're going to be caught, you're going to be arrested, and you're going to be prosecuted. Don't do that. Stay out of these areas. It's only for emergency workers and people who live there.
All right, so a stern warning right there.
And, you know, it's really sad. I was actually thinking about this yesterday. We saw some beautiful pictures, some of our photographers out just documenting this, and some firefighters doing what they can to pull out what are obviously family heirlooms, really important things that they can save just while trying to, you know, put out fires. And my first thought was, oh, my goodness, I hope no one steals those things.
Yeah.
And it's just sad that that even comes to mind. But obviously, it's warranted. Just on that note, new District Attorney Nathan Hochman also let it known that you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, anybody who is looking to prey on the victims of these fires.
That's right. And I know a lot of people looking for information out there in the impacted areas. So here are some apps that you can use to keep yourself updated with the very latest information about the wildfires and all those evacuation orders and the centers if you need relief. So first, go to the Fox Local app. We have live coverage for you and bring you the very latest information from all the news conferences, from officials to live pictures of the fires as well. And next is the Watch Duty app. This is a nonprofit run app to help you navigate the fires ravaging the area, all the fires in the vicinity. It gives you updates on the fires that are near you, the acreage, the evacuation notices, and evacuation centers if you need to evacuate. Another resource app you can use is the Genesis app. It also gives you the latest information on the fires and the evacuation centers as well.
Yeah. We actually sent our Matthew Seedorf in and around the Palisades fire yesterday. He filed this report for us.
We're here off Bienvenida, and just take a look at the force from all of that wind, this massive tree falling down looks like on top of this car, look at that, even bending the tire on the car, all of that crashing down. Also, we've been talking about these winds, those 30, 40 mile per hour winds, some gusts even stronger than that. But you can see the homes out here destroyed, even some still on fire. I think back actually to yesterday, I can't even tell which home it was anymore, but we were out here and one of the homeowners was refusing to evacuate. He was trying to protect his home and use a garden hose to cover the roof with water. He offered us Gatorades and gave us water. And I'm now looking at this, and it's hard to look at, wondering what happened to him and if he got out safe. Hopefully he did. But just looking at all this destruction, it's hard to put into words, and it's like this all over Pacific Palisades. And you just keep driving and seeing more and more homes that are looking like this. I'll go ahead and send it back to you.
House after house, for block after block, destroyed.
Since 6:30 until 2 a.m. with my garden hose, there were no firemen.
The entire neighborhood is burnt down, begging anyone to help put out this fire.
This is insane. This is probably the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life.
There's a fire and there is nothing being done.
It's terrifying.
There's no water north of Woodbury.
Everything in this neighborhood, Altadena is not existing right now.
This area is a total loss.
I'm scared. My daughter is scared.
We had to evacuate. Now there's a fire nearby.
It's really a crazy night.
Oh, yeah. All right, it is 2 a.m. this Tuesday morning. Thank you for choosing Fox 11 for your coverage. I'm Brooke Thomas here with Sandra Indo. This is a live look here at the Eaton fire. This has just been, nothing less of a horror show.
That's right. And the Eaton fire, as we look at it, the acreage is right now being reported as 10,590 acres in size, zero containment at this point. There are a number of night flying helicopters responding to the Eaton fire at this moment. A third air attack has been requested, a third night flying helicopter now en route. So certainly the firefighting continues in the overnight hours, despite the darkness, despite the stillness of the night. In comparison to what we've seen in terms of the wind gusts, there's a little reprieve, so it helps with the aerial attacks and the assessments that are going on with the work that they're doing from the sky. So certainly, hopefully getting some progress being made on that as the winds die down a little bit at this point.
There's an evacuation center that's been set up for victims of the Palisades fire. You can go to the Westwood Recreation Center, all evacuees. It's on 1350 South Sepulveda Boulevard. There's another evacuation center I want to let you know about. That's open at the Dream Center in Los Angeles. There are also 2 evacuation centers for livestock and larger animals. You can go to Pierce College at 6201 Winnetka Avenue in Woodland Hills, or the Los Angeles Equestrian Center at 480 Riverside Drive in Burbank. Any smaller pets like cats and dogs, those can be taken to the LA County Animal Shelter at 29525 Agora Road in Agora.
And all of this extreme fire danger, of course, means LA Unified Schools will be closed today. And officials say flames destroyed parts of some of the schools, including Palisades Charter High School. The 63-year-old school was featured in the movie Grease, if you remember that. LA Unified officials say Marquez Charter Elementary is also severely damaged. Other school closures to tell you about this morning. All Glendale Unified School districts are closed, district schools there. Child care operations and district offices will also be closed for the rest of the week due to the Eaton fire. Arcadia schools will be closed today, and Pasadena Unified also closed for the rest of the week.
Yeah, and on that note, we're talking about so much of what people are dealing with and how much harm is being caused by these wildfires. There is help out there right now, and I just want to go through a couple of things, immediate help, especially thinking about the fact that schools are closed. When you're dealing with not knowing if your home is there, we talked about people who right now only have the clothes on their backs, and then all of a sudden, they've got 4 little kids at home, and adults need a little bit of space to try and take care of some important things that I actually saw. I was sent this little kitchen academy in Century City. They're offering free classes, and it may seem, simple, you're not thinking about a cooking class, but really the purpose of this is giving parents some hours where their kids are safe in a safe environment so that they can take care of adult things and not have to worry about their children. They're actually doing that today at 4 p.m., tomorrow at 9 a.m., and January 11th at 12:30 p.m. You can sign up for those classes online. And again, those are free. Uber and Lyft offering free rides. Airbnb.org also providing free housing for people out there right now. Planet Fitness locations. I saw that. I thought it was really interesting. Right now, you do not have to be a member, but if you need to go in, you need to take a shower, you need to rest, you want to be inside, they're all around us. Anyone that's not being directly affected by the fire, any location, you can go in and just kind of get yourself cleaned up. They even have massage chairs for people.
And they were saying it's a place where you can power up, charge your electronics, your phones. If you are without power, use their power lines. They're saying all their gyms are open.
Yeah, so again, it's free. You do not have to be a member. They're doing that, I believe, until January 15th as of right now. So just stop in one if it's closer to you and you can take a shower, charge your phone, and just take a little bit of a rest. Okay, let's bring Samada Khan here into this conversation to talk a little bit about what's going on outside. Samada.
Yeah, you know, Brooke, good morning. Sandra, to you as well, and to all our viewers. And speaking of getting a chance to rest, how about we take a nice little break from the constant ferocious winds? Just 24 hours ago, we were all part of witnessing the chaos and the devastation caused by those extreme wind conditions. We had the particularly dangerous situation yesterday. That has lifted, but that doesn't mean that we're out of the woods yet. We're still going to be getting those winds, but we're going to take advantage of this break while we had it. Winds are expected to make another return, not as strong, but unfortunately it's just strong enough to potentially continue to have that fire spread, especially through the Palisades fire. So we continue to watch the winds and we have to be on our toes. And here's a look at the relaxed, more manageable conditions. And that's what is allowing our aerial assets to be up in the air to help continue to fight these local fires that are very active, not just for Pacific Palisades, but also the Eaton Canyon fire, the Hearst fire, and all the other active fires that are working right now. Current winds, 0. Which translates to calm conditions, 3 to 5 mile an hour winds from Camarillo to Oxnard. And look at this from areas of Santa Clarita out towards much of our valley communities. Nice to see that we're looking at light winds all the way down the Santa Monica mountain ranges. Speaking of Santa Monica, we've got 5 mile an hour winds there. Much of the basin also reflecting very calm offshore conditions. And out towards the IE as well. And Orange County also getting a little bit of a break. But as I mentioned, we've got winds expected to make a return today. We have wind advisories that will be reissued. We've got numbers instead of the 20 to even 40 mile an hour sustained. We're going to be looking forward to, at least for the wind advisory zones, at least at this hour, 25 to perhaps 30 to 35. And gusts, instead of up to 80 miles an hour, we're going to dial it back to 60, which is still very strong. And unfortunately, that could have enough gusts behind it to create the current fires to spread. But right now, as I mentioned, we're just going to focus on the good side. This is just what's coming our direction. And the wind alerts will stay in place all the way through Friday. So keep that in mind as well. Red flag conditions due to the gusty winds. We are still very bone dry. Relative humidity levels right around 8 to even 12%. And unfortunately, when you still have wind conditions that will come back, coupled with the dryness and a lot of dry vegetations, it unfortunately makes the perfect ingredients for new fires to potentially rapidly grow as well. And the red flag conditions, instead of expiring yesterday evening, we are now extending it to Friday. So we've got another day or so of this critical fire weather. And that it pertains to Ventura County, LA County, the Inland Empire communities, and out towards, yes, Orange County as well. And also a reminder, since we have this map up, if you're driving trailers, big rigs, campers, you want to continue to be extra cautious on the roadways, especially through our 5 corridor, through the Grapevine, out towards through the Cajon Pass, and even into the Coachella Valley along the San Gorgonio Pass. Taking a look at our wind future cast, as I mentioned, calm right now, and it's expected to bump up again. We have got to be on our toes still, but we'll take the break where we can get it. Right, Sandra Brooke?
We sure will. Thank you, Samada. Let's go to our own Gigi Graciette, who obviously covered this fire, this Palisades fire, for hours and hours yesterday. She's actually already 2:08 this morning on her way back to the same location this morning. Gigi, we have you on the phone here, right?
Yes, good morning, Brooke. Good morning, everyone. We are on our way, and to sort of speak to what Samara said, we've made our way through the Santa Clarita Valley, through the San Fernando Valley. As we move into the west side, we are seeing and feeling no wind whatsoever, a much different scenario than what we saw yesterday, Brooke.
Gigi, can you talk to me a little bit about, what you're seeing on your, how close are you right now?
We're on our way. We're on the 405, so we're making our way to the fire right now. But I can tell you what we saw yesterday, and that was complete destruction, devastation. You had a fire official on yesterday from LA City Fire that I believe that described it very apropos, which was catastrophic damage. I mean, we're talking about the center of the city, what we consider, the city square, sort of, our supermarkets. Brooke, our churches, the public library, all of that burning, all of that, Gelson burned to the ground, Ralph's supermarket burned to the ground. We're talking about Corpus Christi Church, which if it wasn't entirely burnt, sustained heavy damage. And we spoke to the Archdiocese yesterday, and they were trying to get someone in there to confirm that the fire had indeed moved into the sanctuary. The Palisades Presbyterian Church destroyed, the bell tower standing, and the walls, the skeleton of the building was standing, but there didn't seem to be anything else there.
Yeah, Gigi, we're looking at video right now of all the devastation that the Palisades fire has created for that community. Virtually the whole town just leveled to the ground after being up in flames. And you were reporting quite extensively on the community along PCH, the mobile homes there that have been completely destroyed. And those are the homes of so many people, that tight-knit community there. You spoke to a resident who lost everything, and coming back to see the debris that was left behind, and a single American flag still standing strong, flying in the wind.
I have to tell you, Sandra, that brought tears to my eyes, and it also brought tears to Andy Rocker and his wife, Rosanna, and they're the ones who lost a home there. And Rosanna, I had just posted on social media, that our flag was as resilient as the people who call Southern California home. And it's funny because Rosanna came up to me on her bicycle. They were touring the mobile home park where over 180 mobile homes were leveled. I don't think there was one that actually survived the Palisades fire. And Rosanna came up to me and she said, "Did you see the flag? It's as strong as we are, and we'll rebuild, and it's as strong as we are." And I said, "Oh my gosh, I just posted basically that same message on social media." That American flag, very symbolic. And we were on Positano, I believe, and there the homes were leveled, that they were burned to the ground, and there stood an American flag just waving. It was amazing how those flags just survived such intense heat and flames.
And just to think that this fire right now still 0% contained, that is still, almost 2 days later, it just makes my chest tight. We talk so much about how so much of this community is gone. The fire is still going, Gigi.
And the damage assessment teams, Brooke, those are the people that will come in and they will physically walk block by block and log. They will log, has a home sustained smoke damage, has a home sustained damage, or a business, or is a home or a business totally destroyed. And we've spoken a lot about homes, and obviously our focus is there. But let's keep in mind our business owners. And we're not talking about, Chase Bank and Ralph, major conglomerates. We're talking about hallway cleaners that I saw burning yesterday, the small Thai restaurant on Sunset and PCH that was burning yesterday. Those most likely are small, family-owned businesses, and they will be severely affected because their livelihood has basically been shut down.
Right.
So our hearts go out to all the business owners also. We saw entire buildings on our way out as we made our way through the village of the building where Chase Bank is. There was a small medical clinic there. And let me tell you, and let me just sort of divert my attention here. We had a fire off the 405 yesterday, too. And we are driving by and we see a lot of units still staged here near the 405 freeway. So Los Angeles and its surrounding communities, Altadena, Pasadena, Sylmar, they have been hit so hard. And Brooke, I think when Brooke and Sandra, when everything is said and done, I think almost all of us are going to know someone affected or know someone who knows someone. Personally, yesterday I heard that 2 of my friends lost their home in the Eaton fire, Altadena, Pasadena. These are women and their families who have lived a life of service, a school teacher, Los Angeles County employee. They've worked their entire lives to be able to retire in their family homes, and their homes are now gone.
I'm so sorry to hear that, Gigi. That is.
I think we're all going to hear of someone that we know that has been affected if we don't know them personally.
Right, absolutely. And when you talk about the size and scope of the Palisades fire, Gigi, just to put it into perspective, I mean, wrap your mind around this. The acreage in terms of how it's burning right now, it's up to 17,234 acres burned. And the size of Manhattan, Gigi, 14